Welcome to another edition of Sundays with Giovanni, where we are in Giovanni's library again. What a treat. And this time I have come to Giovanni because I've just taught a retreat. I've co-developed a training in natural facial rejuvenation, how to reconnect with your inner radiance. And I realized that there's kind of a misconception out there about Chinese medicine, where in the West a lot of the treatment is physical symptoms, you put a needle and you treat headaches or back pain, and that there's a whole depth to Chinese medicine that Giovanni, as this wonderful, highly educated scholar, knows about, that not many other people do, and it's really the spirit of the points in acupuncture. And we're going to go very generally through in this overview in this particular edition, and then later we're going to discuss some of your favorite aspects of these spirit elements. Okay?
Okay, thank you,
All
Susan.
right. Yeah, so, and if we want to go into real depth, then it is in your book, isn't it?
Yes, I wrote that book about 5 or 6 years ago now.
Okay.
Yes, and as you can see, it's called the Psyche in Chinese medicine. And as we all know, one of the most fundamental aspects of Chinese medicine is the unity of body and mind, as we all know.
Yes. To us, it's normal.
Yes, yes. And that also comes under the heading of the 5 elements, like these 5 tastes and 5 colors, 5 smells, 5 of this and 5 of that, and there's the 5 spirits.
The 5 spirits, which is what we're discussing today.
Is the ancient Chinese view of the psyche. That's why I called this book the Psyche. I was undecided about the title of the book. I'm not so keen on the use of the word spirit, as I will probably say.
You'll explain
in
to
a
us.
moment.
Yeah.
I will explain. And the ancient Chinese view of the psyche is based on the 5. It's difficult to know what to call them. In Chinese, they're actually called the 5 shens, like the shen of the heart.
And that's this character. Is it this character, or is
That's
it
the
different?
shen. That's that
This
character.
is the shen of the heart, or is it one of the 5 shens?
Both.
It's both.
Both.
Okay.
It's the same word.
It's the same word.
That's the shen of the heart, which is one of the 5 spirits. But shen is also, in my opinion, well, not only in my opinion, shen is also the total of the 5 is shen.
Okay. So there is a grand shen.
Yes.
And
the
lesser
shen
shens.
of the heart.
Okay.
And I also try to make it clear in my book which shen I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
They're both called shen and is exactly the same character.
Now, this is not commonly taught in acupuncture school.
No.
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 Even now.
Everybody just looks at the character for shen and translates as spirit.
Yes. Okay.
I don't. For 2 reasons. One, because what I would call the spirit is those 5 together.
So it's like a grand spirit.
Yeah, including the hun and the po, for example, especially the hun and the je together.
So we'll just explain what those words are, the hun, the
Yeah,
po.
in a moment, I'll say that in a moment. So what I would call the spirit is those 5 together, which is the shen of the heart itself, the hun of the liver, the po of the lungs, the yi of the spleen, and the je of the kidneys. I would call those 5 together the spirit.
That's the spirit.
But the shen of the heart, I translate as mind. And I'm the only one, the only author that translates the shen of the heart as mind. Everyone translates it as spirit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't. The first reason is that for me the spirit includes those 5 together.
And you see, in our episode on the shen, you didn't talk about this because we didn't go into this much depth.
No.
No?
The second reason, and it's not only my idea, but also the idea of many of these eminent sinologists whose books I've read, and they studied very much the issues of translation, because Chinese language is so different than our language. One character in Chinese can mean 10 different things.
Yes. Yes.
And especially one of these eminent sinologists say that we shouldn't use the word spirit because it's too Christian.
Yes.
It evokes an idea of the Christian spirit, the duality of spirit and body, which Chinese medicine does not have.
Yes, and that's the problem, isn't
And
it?
that's why I use the word mind for the Shen of the heart,
Mm-hmm.
which is totally possible, because if you look at the functions of the Shen of the heart,
Mm-hmm.
I would call that the mind more than the spirit.
Okay.
And the spirit is the five together,
Yeah.
which includes the Shen of the heart itself, plus Hun, Po, Yi, and Je. I would say especially Hun and Je together would be part of what we call the spirit.
So that would be the Hun connected with the
liver.
and
The
the
Po
Zhi.
with the lungs,
Mm-hmm.
the Yi with the spleen, and crucially, the Je with the kidneys, a very important one, the Je of the kidneys.
So you talked about especially the Shen, the Hun from the liver, and the Zhi from the kidneys.
Yeah, especially.
That triangle is really important.
Especially those three, I would say, yes, they would be very important, as they would represent what we call the psyche.
The psyche. Mm-hmm. And the other two aren't? The spleen and
They're also
the
part
lungs?
of the spirit, also, of course they are. But in my opinion, primarily those three, the Shen, the Hun, and the Je of the kidneys.
Okay. Why is it important for us as practitioners to understand that the organs have this, overview of the five spirits? Why? Why do we need to know that?
Because and most of our patients have some mental, emotional disturbances which will affect the body, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Everybody. And,
Yeah. So to us it's obvious.
yes.
But in Western medicine it's all separated and segregated.
Yes, yes. And in Chinese medicine it happens automatically. If you treat
Yes.
heart 7, you're treating the heart channel, but
Yeah.
you're treating the Shen.
Yep.
Automatically, you're treating the Shen. If you deliver 3, you're treating the Hun.
So in the program that I teach, which is reconnecting to your inner radiance, if you're split in different sections, which is what Western medicine teaches and Western culture, you're never going to be reconnecting to your Shen.
Yes.
So you've got to take that paradigm shift and think like a Chinese person in order to really reconnect with all those different parts of you.
And something very interesting happened sometimes, when I was practicing, that I may be treating somebody for pain in the shoulder, large intestine 15, large intestine 11, and they come back and they have an amazing change in their Shen.
In their Shen.
And, you weren't even trying to induce that change, but it just happens automatically, because as we know, in Chinese medicine, the body and the mind are one unit, inseparable.
Yeah, so that's the power of the points, isn't it? You can
Yes.
be treating using supposedly mundane, what we call
Yes.
cookbook points,
Yes.
but they can go really
They're still
deep.
treating the Shen and the
Yes.
Hun and Je, whatever.
So it's really important to have this bigger awareness where, you're in kind of inviting the body to make those changes.
Yes, and later on, when I was in the process of writing that book, I actually developed like a new way of diagnosing mental emotional problems. So identifying which of the five spirits was involved. And it could be more than one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could say this patient, there's a problem with the Je of the kidneys. That's the focus, the most important.
So is that
Or
something?
another patient is the problem with the Hun not moving enough or moving too much.
Could you tell us?
But
is
in
that
all
too complicated
cases,
to
in all
explain?
cases, by the way, the Shen of the heart is always involved.
It's always involved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's so.
When I use the word mind for the heart, it includes the emotions. It includes emotions.
It's mind and emotion.
So by definition, in any mental emotional problem, the Shen of the heart is always involved.
So it's not just intellect, it's emotion too then.
Yes, yes.
So can you give us a little, oh you probably can't, but a little brief way of how you diagnose which?
Well, for example, someone who's depressed and lack of willpower, lack of enthusiasm, I would say that's a pathology of the jaw.
Of the jaw.
Of the jaw of the kidneys. And so I would treat jaw and shen, kidneys and heart.
Okay.
Someone is depressed but in a different way because they have no aims, no nothing to look forward to, no aims, no projects,
no goals.
No goals, exactly. I would say that's a pathology of the hun.
That's
the hun not moving enough.
So, and the hun being liver controls the movement.
The famous or infamous free movement of liver chi that everyone talks about is the physical equivalent of the movement of the hun.
So this is where it all comes back to the spiritual and physical being connected.
Yes, If you move liver chi, you're stimulating the movement of the hun.
So people are going to feel better emotionally, have more focus, be more directed.
Not so much more focus, more
goals,
ideas, imagination, enthusiasm. Like for example, many people they don't know what to do with their lives, what career to take, what do they like to do. I would say that's a pathology of the hun.
That's the hun.
Which is different, which is causes depression, which is different than the depression of the jaw. With the jaw you might know what you want to do, but you don't have the energy to do it. You don't have the willpower to do it. That's the jaw, that's the pathology of the jaw.
So that's two types of depression for different reasons.
Two types of depression.
Are there other depressions with the other organs, elements?
I would say those two are the main ones,
They're the main ones with depression. And how about the spleen, the yi, and the po?
The yi of the spleen is more, that's why I don't use the word spirit. The yi of the spleen is more to do with memory and concentration. And memory, concentration.
So it's not as maybe complex as the hun, would you say?
For example, let's say in the example of someone who has depression from a weakness of the jaw, if they also tell you that their memory is going and they can't think clearly, then there's a pathology of the yi as well.
That's the yi, so that's how
as well.
As well. Okay, and then about the lungs?
The po. The po is different because the po is the animal soul. The hun and po are often mentioned together in Chinese books, and that's why I use the word ethereal soul for the hun. That word ethereal is my own word. The Chinese books don't use that word. They call it a soul, and the hun is yang compared to the po that is yin. So the hun is the ethereal soul, and the po is the physical soul, on a physical level. So let's go back to the example of someone who's depressed from lack of movement of the hun. If they also have physical symptoms like breathlessness breathlessness for example, or feeling of oppression of the chest, then there will be a pathology of the po as well.
So therefore, when the clue is when there's physical symptoms for the lungs, the spleen, the heart, that you'll know that there's usually going to be some kind of spirit malaise as well.
Yes.
Can I ask, do you have a favorite shen, a favorite element, point, spirit?
Points, you mean?
No, not points yet, but do you have a favorite element? Like,
no.
Do you like the hun the best or the je the best?
It's not so much of liking it. I've done more research on the hun and the je, I think, than the others.
The hun and the je.
And especially the hun is absolutely crucial. That's why I keep saying you can't translate the shen of the heart as spirit, because you must include the hun. You
have to include the hun. So then are you saying that if you're your biggest focus is the Hun and the Je. Is that because most people come in with presenting
Yes.
complaints these days?
Yes.
Not so much
Very
spleen
much
and
so.
lung, but more the liver.
Very much so. Heart, liver, and kidneys.
Okay.
And the Je of the kidneys is interesting because it can be translated so many different ways. It can be willpower, I translate it as willpower, determination, enthusiasm, and it's also, if you look at the character for Je, has the heart at the bottom, and at the top has a character which can be a scholar or a warrior or an important person. So it's very much part of the self, the Je of the kidneys, together with the Shen of the heart.
So is that where the heart and kidney
Yes, and that's
needing
another,
to communicate?
that's another aspect
part
of
of the
that
character.
famous communication between heart and kidneys. And
Yeah,
crucially,
this
the
is
character
very-
for Je at the bottom has the heart.
Yeah. Okay, so whenever there's a Je problem, there's usually a heart problem as well. Are you saying?
Yes, I
Because
mean, I
it's-
think in any mental emotional problems, the Shen of the heart is always involved.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
You can't have a mental emotional problem and the Shen is healthy and the Hun is not.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, though, the fact that even the heart is in the character of Je,
Yeah.
which is the kidney spirit, is amazing.
It's also in the character for Yi of the spleen.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Yi of the spleen. Character for heart is, interestingly, is not in the character for Shen. Doesn't
It's
have
not
the
in
heart.
here.
But
That
it
is
is in the
interesting.
character for the Yi of the spleen and the Je of the kidneys.
So it just tells us how important the heart is.
Yeah.
And yet, in Chinese medicine, we also have how important the kidneys are. I mean, do you think that
The kidneys are
anyone...
the foundation
Do you think they're the foundation?
of your, not only your body, but your self. The self with the capital S.
Okay, then, so here's... I'm just going to interrupt slightly. You know in China how they have the school of the stomach and the school of the kidney.
Yes. Yeah.
And to me it was always, you've got to go, yes, digestion is important.
Yes,
you've got-
yes.
So what you're saying is if the kidney is the foundation, that's more important. Are you saying that?
Well,
Or
I would
simplify?
belong, if I wasn't living in the Sung dynasty, I would belong to the kidney school.
You
Yes.
would? Okay.
But I don't, I mean, it's obvious that the stomach and spleen are fundamental as well.
Yeah, we've got to
They're
digest.
the origin of Qi and blood. So.
Yes. And then
And
they...
there's the famous school of stomach and spleen by Li
Yes.
Yuan, of course.
Yes. Okay, but what you're saying though is kidney is, in terms
It's
of
the
this,
foundation.
is the foundation, so you've got to have a solid kidney.
Also because it stores Jing.
And kidney stores Jing,
So
which
Jing.
comes from your
And
parents.
Jing, by the way, is also part of what we call the spirit. Another reason I don't translate the Shen art as spirit, because the spirit is also Jing Qi Shen, the three treasures.
The three
Jing
treasures.
Qi Shen.
Yes.
Jing Qi Shen together is the spirit.
So it's
And
amazing.
crucially, it has the Jing
And it has the
of the
Jing.
kidneys.
So everything is connected, isn't it, in Chinese medicine? It's all cyclical, and the Jing is part of the Je.
Mental illness in Chinese is called Jing Shen Bing.
Jing, Shen,
Bing. Bing means
Bing.
disease.
Bing.
The disease of Jing
Jing
Shen
Shen.
together.
So can you just explain what Jing is for our viewers? Because it's such
Jing
an important
is
term.
the precious essence that you inherit from your parents and determines your constitution, your strength, which you can dissipate or you can guard, and it's stored in the kidneys.
Yeah, so another reason kidneys are so important.
Another reason why the kidneys are so important.
Yes. So, do you have any favorite points for these different? I know that this is a lot, but we're trying to
For
cover
the different
everyone.
5 spirits,
Yeah, for the different.
always
five
heart
stuff.
7, always.
Always heart 7
For the Shen of the heart,
for the Shen of the heart.
I would always use heart 7.
Yes.
Liver 3 for the Hun.
Liver 3, which is a classic.
Lung 7 for the Po.
Mm-hmm.
Kidney, Ren 4 for the kidneys.
Ren 4 for the kidneys. Oh. So you're not using like.
No, Ren 4. I
or
prefer
kidney
Ren 4.
13.
Yeah, kidney 13 too, but Ren 4
Ren 4
is,
for the
I
kidneys,
prefer
which
it.
you know this point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what else? Po?
We've
Yi,
covered
Je?
lungs, yeah, stomach, yeah, Po,
The Yi.
the Yi.
Spleen,
The Yi.
just stomach 36.
Stomach 36. So very classic points you're using just to really tonify all these spirits and make sure that they're in balance.
Yes, and as I said, more recently in the past 6 or 7 years, besides the ordinary, so-called ordinary diagnosis of patterns,
Yeah.
like for example, I don't know, someone has got flame heat affecting the Shen, I also try to diagnose which of the 5 Shens is involved. Is this a horn problem? Is it a paw problem? And I use those points that I just mentioned.
That's great. So this is a very simplified overview, but just to remind you that if you're not connecting with body, mind, spirit, and Jing, Qi, Shen, that you're not going to be able to connect with yourself. And you need strong kidney energy to have that solid sense of self. So we're going to be closing out. This is Dr. Susan Lange interviewing Giovanni Maciocia in Santa Barbara, California. And we've done a very light tip of the iceberg overview of the 5 spirits and the grand Shen.
Yes.
And if you want more in depth, you're going to find it in this incredible book, The Psyche. To be continued in the next edition. Thank you, Giovanni.
Thank you.